What's up guys, manic.mercurian here, and today I figured I would just go ahead and finish the big three. I already did the hardest sun signs, hardest moon signs, and y'all seem to enjoy those pretty well. So I figured let's just go ahead, wrap up the big three, let's do the hardest ascendant signs video today. Now this is actually going to be a little bit similar to the hardest sun signs because the ascendant, it's definitely, obviously very different from the sun, but there are a few kind of parallels. Both the Ascendant and the Sun rule parts of our identity that are more kind of shallow or close to the surface. They're how we represent ourselves with the world, and especially with like new people and casual relationships like friendships, coworkers, things of that nature. So this is gonna be a little bit like Sun signs, just because ideally, for the easiest ascendant, you want it to be an outgoing sign. Ascendant is also all about beginnings. It's about initiation. How do you initiate yourself with other people, like socially, but also how do you initiate your plans, your goals, whatever. So you're gonna want some kind of sign that's ambitious, that puts itself out there, that is straightforward, that's a leader in some way. Cardinal signs. I'm kind of looking at you a little bit. Okay, so as usual, we're going to start out with Pisces just because of my ghetto setup here. So Pisces doesn't really match up with the traits I was just talking about, ideally for an easy ascendant, you want it to be outgoing, pretty decisive, you want to put your best foot forward, so to speak. Is that a phrase? And Pisces, don't get me wrong, Pisces is a beautiful sign, but Pisces being mutable water, Pisces is not the most decisive sign per se. Pisces can go so many different directions. So for Pisces rising people, they may have a hard time knowing how to initiate themselves because they can initiate so many different ways. They're very adaptable, and that's a strength, don't get me wrong. But this is your ascendant, though. This is how you, begin things. It's how you assert yourself. And Pisces is definitely not the most goal-oriented or assertive sign. So like I say, Pisces rising people, they can sometimes kind of lack direction. They're not sure exactly how to assert themselves. Everything is kind of nuanced in this area with Pisces. So I would say that is a little bit more difficult. We're going to throw Pisces in the hard category. And I was thinking of kind of mixing things up here. Let's just do the signs in reverse order. From Pisces, we're going to move to Aquarius. Okay, Aquarius rising. So this is kind of interesting because Aquarius is fixed, and I like fixed energy for ascendants. Because fixed signs, they know what they're about. They know what they like. They know what they don't like. They have that kind of strong-willed nature. So that is really great for an ascendant because you know exactly how to represent yourself. It's straightforward. You're kind of the same all the time. It's consistent. So that makes it very easy. Having a fixed ascendant makes it easy to know how to proceed with things. But this is fixed air we're talking about here. Aquarius, I think more so than any other fixed sign, Aquarius is actually, it can be kind of adaptable or like I say, ambivalent about things. It can go this way or that way. Air is malleable by nature. Air is adaptable. So it is fixed air we're talking about, but Aquarius being kind of ambivalent at times. I think Aquarius rising people, they're not always the most commanding, assertive, ambitious necessarily. It's definitely a sign that knows how to represent itself. It is strong-willed, but it's also kind of ambivalent. It's a little bit empty being an air sign. So overall, we're going to put Aquarius in neutral. I think this is actually a very neutral ascendant sign to have relative to like easiness or hardness. So. And now that we've done Aquarius rising, I'm actually going to go grab a shot because I just want to do that. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and obviously I'm going to skip that pause so to you, no time passed at all. So anyway, yep, love this drop. Okay, moving on. So from Aquarius rising, we go to Capricorn rising. Okay, now Capricorn rising, this is cardinal Earth. And I actually really like this. I feel like this is a pretty natural ascendant to have. Capricorn risings are, they're very sure of themselves. It's definitely a more inward type of confidence, I think, but it definitely resonates outward. You know what I mean? I feel like if you know a Capricorn rising, you'll know what I'm talking about. They are decisive. They know what they're doing. They know what they want. They know how they're going to go about what they're doing. You know, Capricorn is such a goal-oriented sign. They're always kind of thinking into the future. So I'm gonna put it in the easy category. The only reason why I wouldn't put it in the too easy category is because I do think Ascendant kind of works really well with fire signs, you know, because you want like some activity, you want some energy, and Capricorn is definitely all about the end game. So it's you know, applying its energy in a very consistent way, and that's beautiful. That's like definitely, you know, a very easy kind of advantageous way to do things, but you know, they may not have the kind of charisma of a fire rising, if that makes sense. And especially in our society, which is so extroverted, it can come in handy to have that kind of like spark or that charisma. So all in all, this is a very easy placement, very strong placement. Okay, and then speaking of fire signs, next we move on to Sagittarius rising. Now this is kind of interesting because I did just talk about how, you know, Ascendant, generally speaking, I think works well in fire signs. You want that energy to just plunge into something, to be adventurous and bold. You know, that's how we start things. Otherwise, you know, if you don't have that spirit of adventure or, you know, wanting to begin something, wanting to be, you know, if you don't have that kind of impulsiveness or that spontaneity, how will you ever start anything? So of course Sagittarius rising is going to be super beautiful with all of that. You know, Sagittarius loves to kind of start things, begin things, being a fire sign. Sagittarius rising also has that kind of charisma that, you know, Capricorn may lack, so that is an advantage, I think. However, Sagittarius is mutable fire, and mutable ascendants I do think are more challenging because, you know, as you probably could figure out by now if you've listened to this whole video so far, you know, mutable risings are more adaptable. You know, they don't exactly, they're not suitable for beginning things or initiating things necessarily. Mutable signs correlate to the end of seasons. In this case, Sagittarius is the end of autumn or fall. So yes, Sagittarius does have those fiery traits of initiation, beginning things, that charisma, all that is really great. But Sagittarius is also adaptable and kind of more observant too. That, you know, Sagittarius has that mutable side to it, so that does make things more difficult, I think. You know, having a mutable sign like Pisces we talked about already, you know, they I think they're just less likely to know how to initiate exactly or how to present themselves because of that adaptable nature. So all in all, there's a lot going for this, there's a lot going against it. I'm just gonna put it in the neutral category. Next we go to Scorpio rising. Now this is really excellent, I think. Scorpio rising, I think, is a really great placement. To me, it is reminiscent of Capricorn rising a little bit. Capricorn and Scorpio have a lot in common. Of course, the main difference is this is water, and typically for a water ascendant, I feel like it would be challenging, being, you know, because water, just like mutable signs, water correlates to endings as well. And like we talked about, the ascendant is all about initiation, it's about beginnings. However, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and Mars, probably more than any other planet, really does have to do with beginnings, initiation, you know, being ambitious, being goal-oriented, starting things. So I am just gonna put it in the easy category. Scorpio risings know how to present themselves. They are, you know, it's a fixed sign, so they have some level of consistency or stubbornness, which I think really makes it easy for an ascendant, because they're strong-willed. They know who they are in that capacity, and it's not going to change like a mutable sign. So, you know, and not them throwing any shade on mutable signs. If you know my chart, I'm like all mutable. It's just that for this kind of game here, for the ascendant, you know, mutable signs are not going to be the winners, I would think. You know, the fixed signs are kind of where it's at, fixed and cardinal. So Scorpio, you know, they have that magnetism, they know how to represent themselves, they're definitely goal-oriented, very ambitious, you know, they know how to proceed, they know how to initiate things with that kind of Mars influence. So Scorpio, definitely an easy category. Okay, and then moving on, now we get to Libra, and I think things get a little bit more interesting here. So if you've looked at charts at all, you know, I don't know if you have or haven't. I think there's a range of, you know, people who are very deep into astrology watching my videos, and then some people that are kind of just beginning or what have you. But if you've looked at charts though with Libra rising, you'll notice that all the houses are kind of opposite. They're kind of flipped, if you know what I'm saying. So like, you know, we typically connect first house to Aries. There's some parallels there. Second house to Taurus, and then so on. You know, the third house to the third sign, the fourth house to the fourth sign, etc. But with Libra rising, everything is opposite. So, you know, the first house is Libra, which is exactly opposite of, you know, first house typically has parallels to Aries, but it, you know, Libra is opposite Aries, so everything's kind of upside down, everything's opposite. And I don't want to get too sidetracked, but if you do subscribe to the belief of houses equals signs, Libra rising charts will throw you off. I'd like to do a video another time of, you know, why the houses don't equal signs. There are parallels, but they are different. But that's another issue though. But what I'm getting at is Libra rising is almost kind of similar to a detriment placement, because everything's kind of opposite. You know, the Ascendant is much more at home, so to speak, in Aries. Now, technically, the Ascendant doesn't have any signs of domicile, but it almost kind of does, like, because there's one sign in particular which, you know, the Ascendant is much more fitting in, where all the houses kind of line up in a very easy, straightforward way, and Libra is exactly opposite that. So you can probably guess where I'm going to put Libra. Libra rising, I would put in the hardest category. Because Libra is a cardinal sign, but Libra initiates through other people. It doesn't really initiate itself. Libra is ruled by Venus, so it doesn't have that energy. It's more trying to conserve energy whenever it can, and so it leads through manipulation, not in a bad way, but it does. You know, it leads through, you know, maybe influencing someone else to initiate for them so that they don't have to. You know, Libra rising, it's just a very easygoing kind of placement. It can be a little bit complacent. Libra risings want to weigh the pros and cons, and all of these things can be really good, but, you know, in terms of easiness for an Ascendant, this does make things challenging, I think, because if Libra is your Ascendant and, you know, that's how you initiate things, Libra is not, no offense, but Libra is probably the worst sign for initiating things, maybe close to like Pisces, because Libra's never going to make up its mind. It's taking everything into account, you know what I mean? So Libra's a great sign if you want to, you know, delve into some information and just absorb information and see everyone's point of view and all that. But when you are taking into account so many different variables and so much information and, you know, all these different angles, your initiation, if it ever happens, will be delayed. So not throwing any shade on you, Libra risings. You know, there are strengths in every single placement. There really are. But this will make it more difficult for you, because it will sometimes be difficult to know how to initiate, how to represent yourself, you know, how to begin things, because you're going to be kind of tied up in that gathering information stage. You initiate in a kind of backward way. You initiate through not initiating. I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's move on to Virgo. So Virgo rising, I've actually met a lot of these. I love their sense of humor. Like, they usually, when you meet them, they kind of start out a little bit quiet or a little bit shy, but once, you know, it doesn't take them a lot of time to become kind of transparent and to reveal their sort of very kind of smart sense of humor. They can have like a little side of like cynicism, which I think is really fun. But in terms of easy or hard Ascendant, this is kind of more difficult. I'm definitely gonna put it in the hard category. Virgo is a yin sign. I do think the Ascendant does better in fire, or maybe yang signs in general, fire and air. You know, yin signs are just more kind of quiet, more reserved, so they're not as prone to initiation. They're not as, you know, absorbed in that type of energy. They're more about kind of resting or gathering information or preparing, you know, and that can be great too. It's great to be strategic. Virgo is, you know, a little bit like Libra in the sense that it's tied up in the gathering information stage of things. Virgo is also immutable like Pisces, so it is adaptable. You know, it goes this way, it goes that way. So Virgo rising people, like I said at the beginning of this little analysis here, they will start out a little bit quiet, you know, a little bit more slowly, and that's fine. You know, I love that. I love that. But this isn't about my favorite Ascendant signs. This is about easiest and hardest, you know. So it's gonna take them that extra time to start things. So I do think it's relatively more difficult. So next we go to Leo rising. Now Leo is a Leo's a great ascendant to have, I think. I think this is very easy, and I talked about in my last video in the I think it was the moon signs, hardest moon sign video, that almost any placement, if you throw it in Leo, it does pretty well, I think. That's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, I would love to hear your side to things. Some of this can be a little bit subjective for sure, but almost any placement, like I think I was saying Saturn and Uranus are the only planets that have a hard time in Leo. And you know, the Ascendant is no exception. Ascendant does very well in Leo. You know, like I said, Ascendant is how you initiate things. It's how you assert yourself. It's how you represent yourself. And the Leo energy very much knows itself. It's very stubborn, very strong-willed. It's fire. It's fixed fire, so it's very confident. Has no trouble at all initiating things. You know, introducing itself or plunging into something new. It loves that kind of new frontier. So in my notes I put it as easy, but I'm almost tempted to put it in the too easy category. What do you think? I'm gonna put it in easy just because I think Capricorn and Scorpio, they are more introverted energies, so typically introverted energies I don't think would be as easy for the Ascendant, but Scorpio and Capricorn are very I think those would be very easy ascendants to have. So Leo, I almost want to put it in too easy. If there was another category, I'd put it a little bit ahead of Scorpio and Capricorn. Did I say Taurus? I meant Capricorn. But yeah, Leo rising. If you know Leo rising people, they have no trouble initiating themselves. Of course, there could be other things in their chart maybe preventing that, but generally speaking, most Leo risings are going to be very outgoing, not really shy at all. Or even if they are shy, they're not going to have trouble asserting themselves in some capacity, and introducing themselves and starting new projects, starting new things. So Leo rising, this is a very natural rising to have. Very, very easy, I would say. Okay, next is Cancer. So Cancer is cardinal. So cardinal signs I do think are nice to have for the Ascendant, but this is cardinal water. So Cancer is the crab because crabs move sideways. So Cancers do initiate. All the cardinal signs do initiate in some capacity, but Cancer is a little bit more like Libra, where it's not initiating in a direct way. It's much more kind of indirect. But I think Cancer rising does have some kind of stubbornness, like almost like a fixed sign, even though of course this is a cardinal sign, it's not fixed, but Cancer definitely very much knows how it feels about things. Cancer also has this kind of charisma, this like innocence about it, and this could have to do with just our particular society, but I think Cancer risings do very well with introducing themselves, with coming off with a little bit of charisma maybe. So this is another rising that has a lot kind of going for it, a lot going against it. All in all, I'm going to put it in the neutral category. Yeah, I think I've said enough about that really. I mean, having the most emotional sign as your Ascendant, as how you represent yourself, that definitely can be difficult, I think. But at the same time, it can be very captivating, very alluring, and at least you know how you feel, you know how to represent yourself. So this is one that I could kind of go on about forever, but I'm going to leave it in the neutral category. Next we have Gemini rising. So this is actually my rising, and I promise I will be as objective as I can. So Gemini rising, like I've talked about before, this is a mutable sign. This is very mutable. Like I almost feel like Gemini and Pisces are the most mutable of the mutable signs. I know that's not correct to say, but I feel like you'll get what I'm saying by that. That Gemini kind of lacks structure. It can go this way, it can go that way. It's extremely adaptable. That's kind of the beauty of Gemini. But when you have Gemini Ascendant, this is another sign that, especially being mutable air, this is going to be tied up in gathering information, observing. It's not going to know how exactly to initiate or to make that, first move, that first step. Gemini rising is more of a, I don't know, it's like I said, it's really excellent for like gathering information, observing. Mutable air, mutable ascendants I just think are more difficult because, like I said, mutable signs are tied to endings. The Ascendant is how you begin things. So if your beginning energy is more tied up with adapting and gathering information, that's really excellent. You will have some strengths built around that. But as a whole, for the Ascendant, I do think it's more kind of challenging. So I'm going to put Gemini rising in the hard category. Okay, and then moving right along, we move from Gemini to Taurus, so this is very different. Taurus is fixed Earth, so we move from one of the most adaptable signs to one of the least adaptable. Taurus rising would be really excellent for just consistency, stability. They have that kind of end game in mind. They have that, you know, showing up every day, putting in the effort, which is obviously really valuable. The only thing that I think could make it difficult to have Taurus rising is that they're not necessarily built for initiation. Like I said, you know, they're more built for consistency, for the, you know, the middle kind of phase, for carrying things out, for continuing things, for being very consistent, that type of thing. So Taurus rising, I honestly don't think it would be as easy as Capricorn, Scorpio, Leo. These signs are all more built toward initiation, but I definitely think Taurus rising would be easier than Aquarius, Sagittarius, Cancer, because Taurus is so fixed, so consistent. So if you have Taurus rising, the way you represent yourself is very straightforward, very consistent. It's easy for people to understand. You know, it has this kind of air of simplicity to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think having a simplistic or straightforward ascendant sign makes things easy. You know, it makes it easy for people to understand you, at least on a surface level, and then that's how you can kind of proceed from there. Also, with initiating like plans or projects, I think Taurus rising is really great. You know, the only thing, like I said, is that Taurus rising could be a little bit complacent, but you know, like Taurus is an interesting sign because it's ruled by Venus, so it can be a little bit lazy or wanting to conserve energy, let's just say. But at the same time, it's also Earth, so it's also productive. It has a good work ethic too. So Taurus can kind of go either way with that. So I'm going to put it in the easy category, but I would say Taurus would probably be the hardest ascendant of any of these signs in the easy category. But overall, definitely an easy ascendant to have. Okay, and then that leaves us with Aries. And I think this is pretty obvious. I mean, I've talked so much about what I'm looking for in an easy ascendant. And then also we obviously have one category that's blank. So I'm going to put Aries in the too easy category. Aries is the only one there because, you know, like I kind of alluded to with Libra rising, Aries is opposite Libra. So Aries ascendant is almost in domicile, kind of. Not in the sense that, you know, the ascendant rules over planets in Aries or anything like that. You know, it doesn't apply to rulerships. But Aries, I think, is more of a home sign to the ascendant more so than any other sign. Because, you know, like I said with Libra, this is the inverse of Libra. So with Aries as the ascendant is also called the first house cusp. It starts your first house. So having the first sign as your first house, that kind of works super well. Aries is all about initiation. Ascendant is all about initiation. They have a lot of the same themes involved. Aries rising has no trouble with asserting themselves and with starting something new. You know, that's what Aries is all about. So Aries risings do very well with, you know, introducing themselves, starting new relationships, starting new projects. You know, Aries rising is very ambitious. They're very focused on their desires. So they have their intentions in mind. They know what they want. They know how to get it. They come across as confident, charismatic, really everything you could ask for an easy ascendant you have with Aries ascendant. And then, like I kind of pointed out too, depending on the house system you use, the houses generally fall in line in a relatively easy way if you have Aries ascendant as well. So that concludes how I would rank the easiest to hardest ascendants. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree, because of course a lot of this I try to base on, you know, astrological information, like with the ascendant, and with the Aries and Libra ascendants, I really think there's a lot of, you know, astrological information backing me up. But with some of these other signs, this is kind of just my opinion. So let me know, you know, what you think of this too. I'd love to hear your opinions or your experience with your ascendant. And if you have any other suggestions on how you'd like me to rank the signs, it doesn't have to be easiest to hardest. I could rank them, you know, I could put anything in these in these bubbles. Well, let me know if you have any suggestions. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking to you later. Have a great day.